Yeah, so the ancient Greek original meaning from which we derive the term paradise, which comes up in the Bible and in Soviet propaganda of the Soviet workers' paradise. Now, the original ancient Greek meaning for paradise was an enclosure for animals, an enclosure for domesticated animals, to be more precise. Paradise. So the Soviet workers' paradise, of course, was an enclosure for domesticated animals. And right now we're being completely dehumanized. That's the whole point of muzzles. That's the whole point of social distancing. That's the reason why people who get married can't kiss their bride or groom at their wedding. That's why people can't dance anymore. That's why people can't touch anymore. That's why people can't hug each other anymore. That's why people can't socialize anymore. We're being dehumanized. That's why the borders have been locked. Just a couple of months ago, it was all about open borders, total free movement, yeah, massive immigration. Suddenly, borders have all been shut down. Interesting how fast they can act. The Code of Judah, de facto one world government, new world order, yeah. So right now we're being dehumanized. They're setting up the enclosure for the domesticated animals. That's what they consider us. The lumpen proletariat are the animals that are to be domesticated, and most of them are domesticated. Most people are sleeple. They're asleep sheep. Very simple. They've got their muzzles on now just to identify as animals, just like you would put a muzzle on a rabid dog or any other animal. They're all going to be dipped and chipped and vaxxed, just like the sheep and the cattle in the farm, and they're not going to be allowed freedom of movement. They're going to be stuck in a virtual enclosure for domesticated animals. So that's one thing. The other thing, remember, this monstrous dehumanization project that's happening in schools and kindergartens and nurseries, and even at hospitals when babies are being born, just think about it. There's no children have been victim to COVID-19. Not a single child or adolescent, as far as I can see, has been claimed even to have died from COVID-19. So there's no reason for social distancing for children or adolescents, teenagers. Now, if I was writing a science fiction novel right now, or a TV series, the scenario would be that the children, the adolescents, the teenagers, get fed up with the fact that in order to supposedly protect a few people who are over the age of 80, which is the median age for supposed COVID deaths, over 80 and over 90 is the bulk of the supposed COVID deaths, people who are going to die anyway of old age, if not any other seasonal flu or any other opportunistic invention. Now, in my novel, what I'd have is that the teenagers will get fed up with the fact that they've been forced to sacrifice everything, their future, their economic future, their social life, their education, everything. The adolescents who face no risk at all from COVID are the ones bearing the costs. They're giving up everything. So in the novel, the teenagers would realize this and get together and simply start up death squads and go around terminating people over 80. Because if all the people over 80 are dead, then their logic in the novel would be that they'd have no reason, the government would have no excuse for these lockdowns. So anyway, that's just that's not an incitement to violence, by the way. That's just an idea for a science fiction novel or TV series. And it just puts things in perspective that the young people are being forced to sacrifice everything, become totally dehumanized, sacrifice all their freedoms and liberties, every single one of them, simply so that a few people over the age of 80 might not die from COVID-19. Just so that a few people over 80 could die from something else within pretty much the same period of time they would have died from COVID, if COVID really is a virus at all. Yeah. So anyway, that's just some ideas. But basically it's horrific. This is a dehumanization process that's going on now. You call it Agenda 1984. It's a Code of Judah New World Order, de facto one world government, flexing its muscles. It can't be overseen. They've given you a narrative as a smokescreen under which to hide their actions, to redefine and reinterpret their actions. But this is basically, it's a dehumanization process. They're destroying the middle classes, they're destroying everything that makes humans humans, they're removing all your liberties and freedoms, and they're turning you into domesticated animals. And they're going to put you in your workers' paradise, your enclosure for domesticated animals, and that's where you're going to stay. Unless you wake up right now and stop it. You can stop it right now, very easy to do. Just have to show some backbone. You have to show the cult of Judah New World Order that you are not domesticated animals, that you are not sheep, that you are not cattle. Right now, the bulk of humanity has done nothing other than totally reinforce the cult of Judah's estimation of them. According to the Old Testament and the Torah, all the people who are not cult of Judah elites are mere cattle. And you tell me right now that the bulk of humans are not behaving like sheep right now. They're not behaving like humans. They're allowing themselves to have the last vestiges of humanity stripped from them. And this is not going to end. This is going to continue at least till 2025, and then they will invent some new reason to continue the lockdowns. Yep. The whole point was they do not want you to develop immunity. They do not want you to see through the ruse. They're going to lock down, open up, lockdown, open up, lockdown, open up. They're going to extend this as long as they possibly can. And it's being extended artificially. As we've seen in Japan, as we've seen in South Korea, as we've seen in Sweden, it does not have to be extended at all. There was no pandemic, there was no emergency. Yeah, there was merely a state of emergency. As I explained in my earlier video, the best video on COVID, if they had done nothing at all, then about the same number of people as would normally die from seasonal flu would have died from COVID, if COVID's a virus at all. The same number of people, no more than normal. And then it would have been a slight blip on the epidemiological statistics, and then everything would have continued as normal. The supposed threat would have lasted 2 or 3 weeks, and then it would have been gone. The people who were going to die anyway would have died, and the rest of the people would be immune. That's what would have happened. That's what's happened in South Korea and Sweden and Japan. But the idea of this is to have the lockdowns to extend the supposed crisis, to extend the threat as long as possible. And this is the end, folks. If you don't wake up now, if you don't demand back your human rights, if you don't show the cult of Judah that you're human and not just mere cattle, then they're going to keep treating you as cattle, as sheeple, as sheep. And I can't blame them for their estimation of you, based on your behavior. Because stupid is as stupid does. Cattle is as cattle does. Human is as human does. Where are all the high-spirited, free humans out there? The ones who claim they have a soul and free will. Yeah, where are they? I know sadly they're going to end up most of them are right now in prison, yeah? Or being hunted down, sadly. To leave the rest of you, sheeple, to your enclosure for domesticated animals, your paradise. Enjoy your paradise, folks. Ciao for now.